Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Taisho Alice, and we are continuing the wizard's route. We're just continuing where we left off. So, as I pushed open the wooden door, a charming smile greeted me on the other side. Come on in. Oh, if it isn't Puppet. Can't do Kaguya's voice right now. Kaguya, what have we talked about? We said this in Snow White's route. Please don't be the first voice I have to do. I need to break into doing you, and you can't be the first line I have to read. And Mr. Wizard as well. Hi there. What's going on, you lot? You're not on a date, are you? Oh, Kaguya, don't break my heart. This route's hard for me. Not because everybody else loves me. Because, like, you guys, it'll be okay. It's because Kaguya loves me. I don't want to break his heart. Don't look at me like that. Wes, we're on a date. It's a throuple, okay? The three of us. We're just in love with each other now. Shut up. A date? I looked up at the wizard. I half expected him to reply with some stupid joke like, what, you mean the day of the month? No, we're not on a date. I waved a hand dismissively. What was that pause just then? No idea what you're talking about. Really now? He spoke in a flat, emotionless voice. I love you, God. I don't know what you think is going on, but you're freaking me out. Oh, I get it, really. You've come here with Mr. Wizard to do more investigating. Yeah, that's right. Of course. Obviously. Now we sound shady. I almost added, right, Mr. Wizard? But stopped myself. If I said that, I'd only make myself look more suspicious. And you're skipping class as well. My only response to his restrained fury was a dry, awkward laugh. Oh, well, all right then. Come this way. Thank you. After he brought us to our table, I picked up the menu and looked around the cafe. We were the only customers in sight, possibly because it was so early in the day. Wood grain laminate countertops, wooden tables. The antique furnishings gave the place a pristine, old-timey feel, almost like I'd gone back in time. But strangely enough, I was somehow accustomed to it. But we've never been here before that we're aware of. I'm sorry. I know. Okay. Never mind. I want my mouse in the perfect little corner. It fits perfectly in there. Do you see this? It fits perfectly. My mouse. I've said it before in other things, but I don't know if people notice that I have a weird habit of doing that. Like, my mouse is here and I have to line it up perfectly. Or if it's a circle like thing, I put it on a dot. Or if it's this, I put it over here. I don't know what it is. I have a weird freaking like thing where I just like do this and then I get distracted. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be reading, but I'm trying to line up my mouse. I don't know why. I'll put it up along these lines, like you try to get it even, and then I'm doing things, and I'm like, what? Sorry, I wasn't focusing, because I was focusing on my mouse. It's a quirk, and I don't know, and it's like, I have to do it. So sometimes I'm like, let me move my mouse around, or move it, or like whatever, so I don't, because if it's just sitting there, it's not lined up perfectly with something, and I have to do it. It's weird, because it's not like I have OCD. I don't sit there and like I have to make my pencils perfect. There are little things that bug me. Like if I put my bird's blanket on and I put it upside down and I notice it, I'm like, it's not like, oh, okay, it's fine. It's like, nope, we have to fix it or it's going to drive me crazy. Like it has to go on a certain freaking way. Like, I don't know. I have the weirdest little tweaks, but look. Anyway, that was a weird tangent. So, as with the exterior, this interior felt eerily familiar to me. But why? Oh, we slept. It's not in the perfect spot. As I agonized over it, Kaguya brought us some water, and then see it disappears, and that's fine, but then it appears, and I'm like, it's not perfectly lined up somewhere. So, what'll you be having today, dear customers? Oh, I hastily looked over the menu. Naturally, I'd already eaten breakfast, so I was only planning to order a drink. But as it turned out, this place had a huge selection. So I just try not to focus on it, and then it's okay. I'll take a coffee. Across the table, the wizard stated his order. I set my menu down. Actually, I'll have what he's having. Well, that'd be everything then. Yeah. All right then, just to confirm, you'll be having 2 coffees, yeah? Yeah. Coming right up. I'll be taking your menus now. See you in a bit. Kaguya bowed politely, then vanished into the back room of the store. I watched him go, then once he was out of sight, I turned back to the wizard. Are you copying me? He folded his arms and smirked smugly. No, I just felt like having coffee. Even I was surprised to hear just how pouty I sounded. At this point, I had basically admitted he was right. But the wizard didn't seem to notice. All right then. He shrugged. His response felt like a giant neon sign that said, I don't care! And it made my chest ache. Now I was tempted to get my revenge on him somehow. So, I guess we look like a couple, huh? Mirroring his posture, I folded my arms and smirked smugly. Well, we are about the same age. But you're in love with someone else. Indeed. And so were you. I could feel the smile fade from my face. He was right. I was in love with someone else. Which meant it was wrong of me to find him attractive. Okay, pause. Pause for a second. You can't help if you find someone attractive. So you see someone, and you're like, wow, they're an attractive person. It's an acknowledgement of, they are a pretty person. They are good looking. It's like a work of art. Wow, that is a really beautiful painting. That is some gorgeous architecture on that building. Doesn't mean you're like, I'm gonna go move in there, yeah. Or like, I'm gonna take that painting and hang it on my wall, because like, I'm pretty sure they'd frown on you trying to steal the Mona Lisa or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, you're at a museum and they'd be like, bitch, what are you doing? I'm gonna take it home with me. No! You know? But you know what I mean? So you can be in love with someone and see someone and be like, they're an attractive person. Everybody does it. But you're not like, I wish you looked like that. You know what I mean? You're not like, I'm lusting after someone. That's when it starts to be kind of wrong, where you're like, I'm dating this person and I love them, but like, man, I wish I were doing that. Like, gross. Then you got some problems. But seeing someone else and being like, they're attractive. And fine. I guess what she's really saying is I'm attracted to the wizard and like, I enjoy spending time with him and he's really handsome and like, wow, I guess I just really enjoy. Okay, wait, now we're borderline emotionally cheating here. Okay, I get it. There's a place where all of a sudden it crosses into from, wow, they're a really attractive person and cool. They're a nice, good person. I like them. And two, like, I think I love them. And I might fawn over them a little. Okay, well, there's a line. So I guess maybe that's what she's saying, but just finding him attractive is not the wrong side of the line. It happens. As long as but she's gonna do something about it. That's where she's wrong. I get it, but like, just that statement was questionable. Anyway, are you really that curious about it? What? Well, yes. If I'm being honest, I am. I couldn't lie, so I decided to just be honest. Curious about me or curious about her? Both? I don't know why I'm so curious, but yeah. Ever since I first met him, the wizard had slowly started to take over my every waking thought. I wasn't sure whether he'd noticed. Oh, who was I kidding? He was the wizard. Of course he had noticed. Perhaps it's because, unlike you, I'm loyal to one person. Now he's being snarky and rude to us. Are you trying to insult me? No, I'm just saying we're polar opposites. Yeah, I guess we are. Him, loyal. Me, fickle. If he were in my shoes, he probably would have chosen someone by now. Again, you can't because you're in love with the man sitting across from you, and that's why you can't choose. We don't know that, so we think we're being a fickle bitch. But, like, deep down, we're not. He probably wouldn't even look at any other woman, the same way he wasn't looking at me. At this point, I was starting to feel a little jealous of his special someone. Have you gone on any dates with her? No. I lived under the same roof as her, but for the most part, we only ever played chess. The two of you were living together? You moved in with her? Something like that. Oh. It sounded like a mature adult relationship. And again, I was living with my fiancés too. Felt like I could relate. Is she good at chess? I'm very good, but I'm better. He shot me a wink. Yeah, you're definitely a pro. I giggled. Indeed. But one day I must have let my guard down because she turned the tables on me. As I said, she's a stubborn, competitive person who'd do anything to win. What, so she cheated? Precisely. And he's like, I mean, dude, if that isn't like a double-edged sword right here, like, she cheated. Are you saying I'm cheating on you now with these other because you're not wrong? I get it. I'm really curious how the story is going to play out. You know what I mean? Like, what's really going on underneath that we don't know about. The secret, you know? The twist. But how? The chessboard is so small. Wouldn't it be hard to cheat? How do you think she did it? Let's see. If I was going to cheat at chess, I'd distract my opponent, then flip the board 180 degrees. You really are a lot like her. He smiled, pleased. Really? Or is he trying? Like, for some reason, I feel like, did we forget? Or, like, we either forgot and he's trying to remind us, or, as he said, like, all the other times, like, where he's been pretending to be, you're just pretending to be Red. You're pretending to be, well, here's the weird thing. She knew all of the characters, right? Because at one point, he was pretending to be Gretel. But then there was another kind of scene where we just saw it in the last part. You know, she's like, oh, you're being Cinderella now, but he wouldn't say that. And then it's like, now are you being Red? So he was like, it's not like the scene faded out and then it was like, he's being Cinderella, then it fades out and now he's being Red. You know what I mean? Where we could look at it and go, maybe it's been the wizard kind of in them or being them, pretending to be them in all the other routes. And this is like so you've been in all these other places, you know, trying to figure out where you belong, but this is where you belong. You know what I mean? Kind of like Amnesia Memories was like, what world are you going to go to? And it was a different world, but none of them were ever the right world you really belonged in. But it was almost like alternate realities. But like, it's like this would be alternate reality. I mean, I guess any Otome game's like alternate realities because depending on who you choose, you go down the reality with that person. But they all kind of branch from the same, this is your reality, point A. And then depending on who you choose, that's where you split off into an alternate reality. But this is like, you're starting out in completely different parallel universes in a way. Like, everything's completely different. It's not like we have an overarching story where we're doing this and then we happen to choose Red, or we happen to choose Cinderella. It's completely different versions of us. So unless the wizard's like, well, okay, in the real world, wherever we started, I knew you, blah, 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 and then you went into these different realities, but I was kind of there with you the whole time, type of a thing, and this is just another one of those versions. And we just don't remember that? I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, I got a lot of different, there's a lot of different things and pieces that I'm like, I kind of, but like nothing really, and I don't know what's happening. So I don't know. But like the woman that he's in love with is us, but it's not this version of us, it's a different one. But you know what I mean? Like, are we going to get that person back? Are we going to remember? Did we forget? You know, what's the deal here? So, Anyway, really? Come to think of it, you might be the first. The first what? The first person I've ever gone on a proper date with. I stared at him in surprise, looked down at my hands. Although, when she did say, you've had sex with her, like, he never confirmed or denied. He said we've slept together, which, in a way, like, she did crawl into bed with him and he pretended to be Cinderella. You know what I mean? Like, and we did technically sleep with him the other night in this path. So, I'm just saying, we have slept with him, just not sex. So, he wasn't like, yes, we've had sex. He was like, I've slept with her. She had sex with you and you're not even dating? And he's like, sure. Like, anyway. Oh, did I read that? I stared at him in surprise, then looked down at my hands. Oh, I see. So I'm your first. I mumbled under my breath. Aw, cute. In other words, he saw this as a date, too. Oh! What is it? I just realized we didn't have to come all the way out here. We could have just waited for Kaguya to come home from work. You only now realize this? I like how he's winking at us. I love him. He's so adorable. Yeah, just now. Why did we bother leaving the house? Because I wanted to take you away. Huh? Sorry for the wait. Here's your coffee, dear customers. Kaguya slammed the mug down on the table, snapping me back to reality. Oh, thank you. Right when it was starting to feel like a shoujo manga, it turned into a love triangle from hell. And here you are, Mr. Wizard. As he spoke, he set down another mug, plus... What the... I don't remember ordering any mints. Consider it a token of my thanks for being so helpful. Was this his way of telling us to get the fuck out? I'm not gonna GTFO. To GTFO, to get the fuck out? Dark Kagu Bear had revealed himself at last. I see. Well, thank you kindly. The wizard casually pocketed the mints, swallowing Kaguya's dark humor like it was coffee. So, what do you need from me? Kaguya shrugged listlessly. Can we borrow you for a few minutes? Sure you can. I won't get busy for a few hours yet, and talking to customers is part of the job after all. I scanned the room just in case. Sure enough, we were the only customers in sight. Probably only ever the only customers in sight. But this actually gave me pause. Come to think of it, are you the only person here right now? Sure am. Isn't it hard running the whole cafe? Where's your boss? Maybe he could handle it right now, but it was bound to get busier around lunchtime. Could Kaguya really operate this whole store on his own? The boss? You mean your father? What? I clicked and it didn't go anywhere. I looked at him in surprise. He frowned back dubiously. My father is your boss? Sure is. He's the man in charge around here. If my father was Kaguya's boss, then that meant he owned this cafe. Was that your only question? No, let's see. I glanced at the wizard, but he simply looked back at me in silence. I shook my head and forced myself to focus on the topic at hand, Kaguya's childhood displacement. For now, any other question would have to wait. Kaguya? Yeah? How did you learn you had brothers? Last time we talked, you said you were really happy to discover you had siblings. So how did you find out? I asked as gently as possible, hoping to nudge him in the right direction without outright hurting him. But when it came to these things, Kaguya was among the most intuitive of the five, so naturally he sensed what I was getting at right away. The hunter told me. What hunter? My brother? No, not your brother. A different bloke. A new character had been introduced to our story. The one that the wizard keeps seeing in the mirror? A character with no name, however. Hunter, healer of undiagnosed neurological trauma. Trauma? Trauma. Wow. A doctor, in other words. But what relationship did Kaguya have to this doctor? I was curious, but decided to follow the flow of the conversation. When I came to live at the fifth house, a lot happened and I ran away. The next thing I knew, I was in a room with white walls. I couldn't remember who I was or where I lived. Luckily, I remembered my name, but I had no idea what I'd been doing before then. And then a hunter walked into the room. He told me I had 4 brothers that were suffering just like me. He said my brothers wouldn't hurt me, and that they were on my side. Asked me if I wanted to speak with them. And I figured, yeah, if I've got brothers, I might as well. So the hunter told me where I could find them, and off I went. It was a world of darkness. So dark I couldn't see a thing. Couldn't tell how far I'd walked or how much time had passed. No matter where I went, the scenery around me stayed static and unchanging. This is that weird in the looking glass place that we were, that the wizard was. I'm just saying, you know, right? Like the darkness had consumed everything. All sense of direction, even the very concept of time itself. But for some reason I could still see myself. As I walked, I saw some other people. 1, 2, 3, all of them right there in the darkness with me. And that was how I met my brothers for the first time. But he said 3, and he would be the 4th. Where does the 5th come in? And then before the wizard said there's 4 other people here. Wait, 3? So 1 was missing? Who was there? See? Cinderella, Snow White, and Red Riding Hood, of course. The 4th one, Gretel, he wasn't born yet. So we introduced ourselves and talked about all sorts of things. such as our current circumstances, what we were planning on doing next. We had nowhere to belong, nowhere to go, and no one to turn to. In the end, we decided we'd stay with the hunter who helped us get all together in the first place. So we lived there peacefully. As long as we lived there, we had a roof over our head and food in our bellies. Nothing fun to do, but we had each other in it. Come to think of it, that's where I first met your brother as well. I reckon he was an intern at the time. In the beginning, the hunter was really kind to us, but over time he got more and more snippy. And after a while, the hunter stopped showing up entirely, and we never saw him again. It felt like we'd been abandoned again. Everyone always leaves us in the end. Based on what happened to the others, I'd say them's just the cards we were dealt. Then your father came to us and said we could all live in his house. Why would Why would a total stranger take me in when my relatives and even the hunter threw me away? I didn't understand it. So we discussed it amongst ourselves, and in the end, Cinderella turned him down on our behalf. Yeah, I remember that. I was there. Yeah. And then one thing led to another. We all got engaged to you, and that was where we first met our youngest brother, Gretel. Having finished his story, Kaguya's usual smile returned in full force. This is so baffling and strange. Just then, the front door opened and a group of women walked in. Oh, I've got customers. Thanks for talking to us, Kaguya. For some reason, he smiled at me for a long moment. No problem. Speaking on behalf of me and my brothers, allow me to say this. Thank you for letting us into your heart, puppet. Guilting me for being in love with the wizard. Are you starting to understand their feelings? I heard the wizard's voice from somewhere behind me and came to a stop. When I turned back to face him, I found him standing a few steps away. Now that we have a precise understanding of their pain and suffering, and the next step is to heal them. Think about what you can do to help them, then take action. You could offer words of encouragement, or you could devote your life to them. If you truly understand them, then you'll surely know what you need to do. Thus, the first thing you must do is choose one of the 5. I'm not sure I really understand. I interrupted him on purpose. What? I don't think I truly understand them. Granted, I know their history now, but you can't get to the heart of a story just by reading the synopsis. Does that make sense? Then shouldn't you just pick one of them? If you narrow it down to one brother to start with, you can work your way through the rest over time. He aimed a finger gun and fired a shot at my heart. You start with one and you work your way through all... That's what we did. We started with Cinderella and we worked our way through all of them until we got to here. How about it? Ready to make your choice? Will you choose one person to be your husband? Okay, so I'm pretty sure this is where we're supposed to do our next save. I kind of lost a little track of where we are, but I think based on the bad endings, we had the yes, no choice, and then we had the person choice, which I think we've already done. And then we have another yes, no choice, which would be this. And then we should have a bad ending. We get to choose all of them. At each, because I was like, if we have to choose one, I want to go through and choose all of them, but I forgot that yes, bad endings, we choose all of them. So this is the no. I'm afraid I can't choose. He looked at me in abject annoyance. So I kept talking. Do you think we could speak to that hunter? You know, the one Kaguya mentioned? At this, the wizard furrowed his brow. He's mad. What would you ask him? Something about Kaguya's story gave me pause. Cinderella, Red, and Snow White all said their mother's attitude changed dramatically. And according to Kaguya, the hunter's attitude changed too. I know their mother isn't with us anymore, but that hunter should still be alive, right? If we ask my brother, I bet we could find him. He won't be of any use. What? He looks mad. It was his icy voice, not his comment itself, that caught me by surprise. The wizard seemed to realize this too. Or so I think at least. He quickly recovered his usual joking tone. Why is that? When I pressed him on it, believe it or not, he struggled to answer. Because He looked at me for a long moment and said, a cat. Wait, what? Where? Where? Oh, I see it. I turned around to find a lone kitten lounging on the sidewalk. Oh my gosh, it's a kitten! Mr. Wizard, it's a kitten! I was over the moon. Do you like cats? Of course I do! They're adorable! More of a bird lady myself, but like cats are fine. I crouched down and reached out to pet her. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty! Her ears perked up. Is that going to make her come to you? I don't know, I'm just trying. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Unfortunately, the kitten lost interest in me and started washing her face instead. Rejected. If only I had a little treat to give her. I dug around in my pocket and purse, but couldn't find anything safe for a kitten to eat. Then the wizard crouched down next to me. Here, girl. Here, kitty. The instant he reached out to her, she stopped cleaning herself and looked at him. Mr. Wizard, she's coming this way! So it seems. The kitten nuzzled against his hand and started to purr. I mean, it's the cat that he always carries with him, you know it. She really likes you. That's amazing. In contrast to my excitement, the wizard looked at the cat dispassionately. Is it? Well, cats are very cautious creatures, and this one's a stray. But maybe this one likes humans. As I spoke, I reached out to pet her, but she hissed and swatted at me. Nope, guess not. Oh well. I shook my hand to mitigate the pain of the scratch. What do I do with her now? Meanwhile, the kitten went right back to nuzzling the wizard's hand. Not that I was super jealous or anything. Just pet her and say, good girl, I guess? Good girl. As he stroked the kitten's head, she flopped down on the sidewalk and purred happily. She loves you. I don't understand why. I didn't do anything to earn it. I caught a glimpse of his face in profile. His expression seemed a tiny bit uncertain. Mr. Wizard, haven't you ever been around a cat before? This is my first time. What's so great about cats anyway? His eyes shifted in my direction. I don't know. They're nimble and fickle and surprisingly persistent? Oh, and I'm told they can pick up on human emotions and thought patterns. If they sense you're not their enemy and you won't hurt them, they'll open up to you. In other words, you're clearly a good person or else she wouldn't like you. The wizard smirked. And what does that make you? An awful human being. Well, she doesn't like you, so I suppose you must be a terrible person. I've never once thought otherwise, so yeah. I smiled in spite of myself. Really? But your fiancés, they all seem to see you as a saint. That's because I'm a wolf in cat's clothing. I see what you did there. Dumb joke, I know. So it's all been an act? No, it's not an act. I'm just sort of wearing a mask to hide my true colors. I pressed a finger to my lips and winked. I'm just a skank who wants to marry a bunch of guys at once. Game Road! This game is so mean to me. Yeah, I want a bunch of my Otome husbands, but like that doesn't make me a skank. Okay. Jesus. Calling me out and being a bitch about it, game. Rude. I let out a self-deprecating laugh. Based on his behavior thus far, I'd expected the wizard to offer me a wry smile at most. However... Good girl. Suddenly he stroked my hair. Hi, wizard. Thanks for touching me. What are you doing? As I yelped in surprise, the kitten jumped off his lap and scurried away. Oh, you scared her. Sorry. Just when she was snuggling with you, too. I don't mind, really. And the cat may be gone, but you're still here. Is that... I started to say, is that a pickup line, but stopped myself. You looked like you needed some affection. Did I? Indeed you did. I really need the wizard in my life. Like, yes, I want all my Otome husbands, but then he's like, you look like you need some affection. I do! Yes, Mr. Wizard, please come and pet me. That sounds really perverted and gross, and I'm just gonna let it go. Just stop. Just pretend we didn't say that. I could feel myself blushing. Are you a cat? Do you like it when I pet you? I could get used to it. Me too. I stared at the ground. Unlike the cat, I couldn't let my happiness show openly. But nevertheless, the wizard seemed to see right through me because he kept on petting me. You know, you said you weren't sure how your special someone felt about you, but I'm starting to think she did love you back. Oh? I mean, think about it. You're so charming, even cats love you. Just then his hand fell still. What am I going to do with you? Huh? He rose to his feet and looked down at me as I crouched beside him. The sun was in my eyes, so I shielded them with my hand. Lady Arisu. Yes? You were talking about wearing a mask just now. Well, the truth is, I wear one too. Would you like to see beneath it? This threw me for a loop at first, but then I answered, if possible. I wasn't used to being in a submissive role, but I'd rise up to any challenge thrown my way. You're quite the daring person. Well then, let's go find our hunter. With that, the wizard grabbed me by the arm and hauled me up to my feet. I dream of you. You want to play again? She smiled and nodded. Of course. I let out a small sigh. After the first time I beat her at chess, she proceeded to challenge me to a rematch every time she saw me. She stood with her hands folded behind her back, peering at me with a smirk on her face. Like I said, I can be pretty persistent. Are you really that upset I beat you? Well, yeah, I admit it. I'm a sore loser. I never knew. At the very least, I'd never noticed while I was watching from the other side of the mirror. On the contrary, I got the sense that she had the magnanimity? Wow, that's a word. To let her opponent win. But magnanimity? I know, right? She chuckled smugly. Oh, ahem. She chuckled smugly. Oh, because she's evil. That evil fucking Chucky face right there. I'm a wolf in cat's clothing. What does that mean? It's my version of a wolf in sheep's clothing. It means I wear a mask to hide my true colors, feign innocence, that kind of thing. And you wear a mask too, don't you? Guess that makes us birds of a feather. For the first time in my life, I smiled. Maybe so. What you doing, Boogaboo? You coming over to say hello? Hi. Are you sitting on my pillow? You come, Snugs. You should come, Snugs. What, you're just gonna sit there and stare at me because I see you? I heard you sneaking up because you're fat. I heard you go thunk on the butt. No, he's like, jumps away. I heard you. You can come, Snuggles. You gonna come? No, you're not gonna snuggle with me? You snuggles with me? Come snuggle. Why I gotta force you? Why won't you love me? Hi. You staying with me now? One by one, I filled out the... One by one, is it me? Oh, it's me. Me. Never mind. We're back to me. One by one, I filled out the questions on the form I received at the front desk. At first, the questions were pretty broad, like, what kind of symptoms do you have, and how long have you had them? Jesus, I clicked like 4 times. But on the next page, it started asking more detailed questions about my current condition, and I was meant to circle the answers that applied to me. Then it started asking me about my views and feelings, almost like a personality test, and I was once again reminded of where I was. Will we really find that hunter here? We will. According to my research, this is the place. Oh my god, he's having me committed. You really do know everything, don't you, Mr. Wizard? We're gonna be like, Mr. Wizard, you tricked me! And he's like, 'cause you wouldn't choose. Everything except how you tick. Why can't you figure me out? Because I'm not you. I giggled. Going by that logic, you'll never be able to understand anyone who isn't you. Exactly. How can I understand someone else when I don't even understand myself? Well, you can at least try to imagine. I mean, most people have a lot in common emotionally speaking. They enjoy pleasure and hate pain. So if you use your own experiences as a guideline and only do unto others what you would have done unto you, you can get a feel for people and their hearts. merely imagining something doesn't make it real. Don't we all fucking know it? All living creatures, especially humans, are isolated right from the moment they're born. Nothing you write on some scrap of paper will help anyone see into your heart. Hey! He snatched my form and ripped it up. If you can't understand anyone but yourself, does that mean I'll never understand the pain and suffering of the man I love? Normally, yes. But you can understand it, and painfully well, too. Mr. Wizard, are you... Oh, Miss Onisu, I'm ready to see you now. He's calling for you. Right. The hunter was a middle-aged man with glasses and graying hair. As I sat down on the stool, he looked up from the documents on his desk. Miss Spacey Onisu, what brings you in today? I wanted to speak with you about something. What is it? Just then, anxiety spiked in my chest and my heart raced. We're remembering things. I'd barely said a word, but for some reason it felt like he was mad at me, and now I was on the verge of tears. I'm sorry, I guess I'm a little nervous. The silence terrified me. Desperately, I searched for something to say. I tried to laugh it off, but I wasn't sure if it sounded natural. What makes you feel nervous? Well, I wasn't expecting him to ask. Instantly, my mind went blank. I needed to say something. Anything. Now! Now! But the words wouldn't come to mind. His steely gaze made me want to bolt. According to your paperwork, it says your mind often wanders to the point that you lose track of time. Is that correct? He noticed me fumbling and changed his question. Yes. I answered in a shaky voice. How long has this been happening for you? How long? I don't know. Ever since I can remember, one minute I'm at home, and then I'll find myself outside or talking to someone I don't know. Sorry, I keep sniffling. Do these people seem to know you? Yes. I see. Please continue. In the process of answering his questions, my anxiety must have faded, because this time my mind stayed sharp. It's okay. He's a doctor. He's used to the stuff. It's okay if I make mistakes. For some reason, it feels like I'm dreaming. I know I'm awake, but sometimes I have these strangely vivid, lifelike experiences. I know it's not real, but sometimes I feel like crying, or my chest hurts. It's okay to feel like you're crying. Like you need to cry. It's okay to cry. Feels like I'm reliving my memories, but from the perspective of someone who isn't me. Almost like I'm not really Alice anymore. Do you notice that we just said, almost like I'm not really Alice anymore? Was that a typo? Or did she really say Alice and not Adisu? You know what I mean? Hiragana Alice versus katakana Alice. I forget which one was which, but you know what I mean? It's just so pretty outside. Do you ever find yourself in a place you don't recognize? Or find yourself injured and don't know how it happened? Yes. I see. It's weird because none of this has happened in the game, so it's just interesting this is coming out. Let me see your hand. Okay. I did as requested. He lightly slapped my palm. Did you feel that? Did it hurt? Yeah. Incidentally, how do the people in your life treat you? Has anyone ever told you you're acting like a different person? Well, have you ever felt someone watching you from a dark doorway or somewhere just out of reach? Is there a dark shadow behind you? The wizard. How did he know all that? I don't know who's... Ah! What's wrong? Arisu? You're hurt. We better patch you up. Arisu, who am I? I'm assuming this is the wizard. What? Just now, in the mirror, I saw someone who wasn't me. It was me at first, but the next thing I knew, it turned into someone else. The mirror didn't reflect my face. It was showing someone who looked nothing like me. And then the person looked at me and told me they loved you. And that was when I realized This other person probably wants me to leave. Then after I'm gone, they're going to take over my happy life with you. I'm not sure who it's... I don't think that's... The wizard is the person in the mirror. Or... maybe it's the other characters that one of them he saw in the mirror. And this is... I don't know who's talking, so... It doesn't really sound like anyone because I don't know who it is, so... I'm scared. Really scared. Someone who isn't me lives inside me, using my body, pretending to be me. And when I'm in control, they spy on me from the darkness. Arisu, am I really me? Because I'm not sure I am. I mean, think about it. How can anyone prove whether the person you're talking to right now is really me? Maybe the real me is the one who isn't me at all. That's terrifying. The real me is not me at all! Woo! Okay, like... I can't say what this reminds me of right now. But, okay. Well, you just pretend... I'm sorry. Anyway. I'll always be on your side. And I'll always believe in you, even when you don't believe in yourself. Because I love you. Arisu, I'm sorry. I can't tell if you're actually talking to me or not. I can't even be sure that you love me. Arisu, I'll never forget the pain I saw in your eyes. Miss Arisu? Huh? Are you alright? You were staring into space. So, I'm wondering, was that the wizard? And then, like, the wizard was confused? Or is it Alice and the wizard was taking her? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's going on. I like it. It's so confusing. Oh, yeah, I'm fine. Sorry. I let out a sigh. Once again, I had been caught zoning out like a total space case. I mean, her name is Spacey. I was definitely awake, yet I kept having these strangely vivid, lifelike experiences. It was kind of like narcolepsy, except it felt all fuzzy and surreal. Almost like a dream. So, what is it you wanted to ask me? Hunter furrowed his brow at me. Evidently he saw me as one of his patients. Well, you see, I'm Ryoshi Arisu's younger sister. Ah, yes, him. At the mention of my brother, the tension faded from the air. Would you like me to call him over so you can speak to him? Oh no, that won't be necessary. Do you know 4 brothers named Cinderella, Snow White, Red Riding Hood, and Kaguya? At this, the color drained from his face. Yes, they came here in the past. What of it? Could you tell me why? This is a mental health facility, right? What business did they have here? They were my patients, obviously. What? I'm wondering, it makes me feel like we came in here and he's like, what did you want to ask me? And then that whole other scene was also, because like, remember it like throbbed and then it looked like it split and like reversed. And then like, or it was like, was it like double? Like whatever. But it was like different, the background was different. And then it was like this conversation we were having with him. And I was like, he's asking really weird questions. How the hell did this happen? And then all of a sudden that other mirror part happened where we have no idea who we were talking to. And now we're back here. He's like, what did you want to ask? And like all of that was just fucking in our head. We had like an aside of an aside. So we zoned out, imagined the doctor asking us these questions, and then imagined a scenario within that. It's fucking insanity. But I'm wondering, like, she's like, I have these lifelike experiences. I wonder if they were both actual memories. You know what I mean? Anyway, what? Just when I was finally feeling calm, my heart started to race all over again. They were his patients? Of course they were. I should have known. I first heard of them when I was contacted by his orphanage. He had a history of running away from the facility, and every time they brought him back, he acted as though he had no memory of it. Naturally, it isn't unheard of for children to lie. Classic attention-seeking behavior. But no, it was Kaguya, he kept forgetting. But his circumstances were a little different. Most notably, it was in the way he spoke. One minute he'd have a British accent, and the next he'd act like a little prince or clam up entirely. That wasn't all. His skills, habits, preferences, knowledge, it all fluctuated and abnormally fast. Each time it happened, he gave off entirely different vibes, like he was a whole new person. I feel like right now he's talking about the wizard and not the 4 brothers. They were my patient. They're all, oh my god, or maybe he's talking about Alice. And all of them are personalities inside of Alice. You know what I mean? Like, one minute he'd have a British accent. So, Kaguya. You know what I mean? Oops. Kaguya, act like a little prince. The little prince part could be Snow White. Snow White could be the clamming up entirely. Clamming up entirely seems more like Red Riding Hood. You know what I mean? Like, anyway. Oh, like he was a whole new person. Okay. When I heard that, I knew in my heart that he probably had brothers. So I had them bring him here and we spoke. He didn't seem to know about his brothers at all. For a second there, it really did sound like he was talking about one person who had, like, your quote-unquote brothers are just the people in your brain. Not Kaguya. You know what I mean? Okay, now he's talking like Kaguya acted like his other siblings. But I saw them with my own two eyes. I personally met Cinderella, Red Riding Hood, and Kaguya. At first I thought there were 4 in total, but later I would learn about the existence of the 5th. But now he's saying Red Riding Hood and Kaguya and not Snow White. Snow White, I mean, he was a bit of a special case. Now he talks about. So see, like every single time I throw something out, he's like, "No, bitch. Your brother was the one who clued me in about him. Evidently, he met Snow White purely by chance. As I got to know them, I realized that none of them knew about each other. None of them knew about each other. Ah, but Red Riding Hood. See, this is what I'm talking about. It sounds like you're talking about one person who has 5 people in his brain. Because, like, none of them knew about each other. Like, Kaguya didn't know about his brothers. Okay. Gretel didn't know about his brothers. Okay, based on the scenarios you've played out for us. But Snow White, Cinderella, and Red Riding Hood didn't know about each other, despite the fact that Red Riding Hood talks about, remember, finding his mother dead. But you would have been living with Snow White at the time. And do you know what I'm saying? Doesn't this seem like these pieces don't... Bitch, we're putting a puzzle together, but all the pieces belong to different puzzles, and this ain't gonna work. You know? Anyway. So I suggested they all get together and talk it out. I wanted them to come to terms with the situation and come up with a plan for the rest of their lives. That being said, though they were brothers, they weren't guaranteed to get along. I wasn't sure it could work out. I feel like these are all personalities, and this is like... But fortunately, the worst case scenario never came to pass, and they all reached an agreement. But then after a long talk, they decided to stay with me. I want to believe I did everything I could for them. He's so young. He's got the rest of his life ahead of him. At his age, he ought to have all kinds of hopes and dreams. And then he says they, and then he goes to he. All kinds of hopes and dreams. But he doesn't because of his brothers. He lives a hard life. I seriously wonder. Like, sometimes I feel like we're talking about Alice, and we're all people in Alice's head. You know what I mean? But then it's like, is it the wizard? And these are all people in his head? At the rate he was going, he was on the verge of a breakdown, and I wanted to avoid that at all costs. He goes from they to he, back and forth, like he's talking about one person, and then he switches to, like, well, they, the brothers. And I seriously, I mean... I kind of almost feel like the overarching, like, especially with the we're in the shadow and we're with Alice. Like, but in this, it should be that they're all, like, characters that the wizard created. You know what I mean? And, like, maybe we were here visiting him or somehow met him here and, like, oh, you're pretending to be Snow White, but you're not really Snow White right now. Oh, so you're Gretel. Okay, wink, wink. I know you're not really Gretel. Like, she knows who the wizard really is, even though he's creating these other characters. That's the way it should be, because it should be... It's the wizard's route, so it should be... These are all imaginary... These are all, like, other personalities in his head. You know what I mean? But, like, where are we now? Because, like, he keeps saying he and that, and, like... Through our conversations, we built a foundation of trust. I wanted them to achieve physical, emotional, and societal stability. And now he goes back to them. And the weird thing is if the translation wasn't so fucking good, I'd be like, is the translation just fucking weird? But I know it's not. I know that based on the other games we've played, the translation is not wonky. So it literally is, I mean, there's still my head, like, did she really say I'm not Alice? In that? Which why I'm like, are we talking about Alice? But we're in the wizard's realm. But why would we be talking about Alice in the wizard's realm? But maybe we are. Because that would make sense for the overarching, like, oh, we're all just imaginary people in Alice's brain. Fucking great. Great. That's amazing. You know? But they really all should be characters inside of the wizard's brain. Like, if he has multiple personalities, you know? But so I know the translation is so beautifully done that it has to be that the hunter keeps going back and forth between, like, they and he, and they and he, and it's like, are we not picking up on this? Because, like, you know? I probably cared more passionately for them than any of my other patients. As I spoke to them, I got the distinct sense that they were all flawed individuals. They each had their own separate memories and their own deep trauma. See, they all have their own separate memories. Which, if you were real people, you should, and that shouldn't be a shock, and you shouldn't need to... They all have separate memories! Well, no fucking duh. But if you're saying that about one person who has multiple personalities and saying, each one of those personalities has its own set of memories, that is where you're like, interesting. Right? But, like, individual people, me, my siblings, we all have individual memories because we're individual fucking people. As far as I'm aware. Anyway. So I attempted to heal them one by one. Unfortunately, this proved fruitless, and their hearts remained closed off. We're starting to lose my patience. Their symptoms didn't worsen, but nor did they improve. I would have liked to at least one of the brothers to take charge, but none of them could. Cinderella was the most ideal candidate as the eldest brother, but he had his own problems. The next base candidate was Snow White, but he was asleep. It was then I decided to create another brother. One with no flaws, but with all the knowledge and memories of the other brothers. One that could endure the pain, who gets off on it if you're talking about Gretel. Again, we sound like we're talking about someone with multiple personalities. Unless the other brother you're talking about is the wizard. So I put him under hypnosis and spoke to his subconscious mind. And that was how I successfully created the sixth brother, which is the wizard. But what I created was defective, and that's what the wizard's talking about. He's not looking through the mirror, he's looking through someone else's eyes, and he's in there, and the hunter is talking to him, but he won't answer even though he's in there. That dark world is someone's brain. So that makes me think, like, when we're all wandering around in the dark space, are we lost in our head somewhere? Like, Alice is there, are we all lost in Alice's head? Defective? Yes. The sixth brother was an empty shell. No emotions, completely numb. And, like, does she not realize, like, wait, can I ask one last question? What is it? Why did you distance yourself from them? Hunter looked down at the medical documents inside. Because I was tired. Much as I hate to admit it, talking to my patients has become a chore. In this line of work, outbursts and suicide attempts are common. Some are kept in isolation, but nevertheless, we're still required to interact with them. When I was younger, I gave it everything I could, but I'm not that young anymore. I tried my best, but I couldn't fully heal them. And eventually I started blaming myself for their lack of progress. Silly, isn't it? It's my job to help people. But there I was, wishing someone would help me. And that's why we're here. To help the wizard get rid of his other personalities. By the time we left, it was already dark outside. The sixth brother he mentioned. He wasn't talking about Gretel, was he? I mean, it doesn't make a sense chronologically. Gretel didn't meet the other brothers until after he arrived at my house. I glanced at the wizard beside me as I spoke, plus Gretel is the fifth. Yeah. As usual, he commented in an absent voice that suggested he didn't really care. The full moon was nearly upon us, yet he didn't seem worried in the least. And then that also kind of makes sense why she's in love with all of them, because they're all little pieces of the wizard. Thinking back, he never seemed to show any interest in me, right from the start. Or were all six brothers inside of the seventh person Alice's head. Like, but now somehow they've all made it out into the real world and they're all individual people in some kind of weird looking glass world. And when we get to Alice's route, it's going to be like, all of those are personalities inside of Alice. Maybe even us. Like, it's like a game within a game within a game within a game. It's like Inception in here. Jesus. Maybe you only saw me as a worthless pawn. You know, it's funny. I never knew they had any other brothers. So I guess there's 7 in total? See? I wonder what happened to the other 2. Okay! So that makes me think that, like... Because, okay, remember in, like, Snow White's, this world is, like, magical. All of them, we step through the looking glass and go into a world. Some other alternate reality. And in the very beginning, we're always in Alice. It's just us and Alice. So, like, when we went Snow White's route, we were in the looking glass world. We were dealing with Snow White, but that was a nightmare that Snow White was having. He is asleep. He's in a nightmare. Then he breaks out, and we're in a dream because he stepped through a mirror. So then we would have to then step out of that mirror into the real world. So Snow White was 2 levels deep, 3rd level deep. The nightmare was level 1, or level 3. Level 2 is the dream world we woke him up into. And then level 1 is the, quote-unquote, the real world that he's going to have to wake up from that dream. You know? So, like, this could be the same thing where, like, okay, in Alice's route, every one of us, maybe even me, just all the other characters, the other 6 people, are people that were created that live in Alice's brain. But for the purposes of this, it's almost like, okay, we stepped out and they are all somehow now individual people, but they were created in Alice. You know what I mean? Like, we're in that 2nd level where the 1st level would be Alice's route. We're all imaginary characters in his brain. But for the purposes of this story, we stepped through this magic mirror and now they're all individual beings. You know? Because Alice would be the 7th. And then she just threw out a 7th, and it's like... And it sounds like Alice invented these 5 people, and then the hunter created the wizard. Or maybe they're all people in my brain. Maybe I'm the 7th. I don't know! It's weird, and I'm very confused. It's so confusing, but it's like... It's really good, though, because, like, my god, it's crazy. Anyway. Wonder what happened to the other 2, anyway. Beats me. You're just gonna keep being evasive, aren't you? I stopped short and watched him walk off ahead of me. As a pawn, I could only move forward. But being a pawn had its advantages, too. And funnily enough, it sounds like the 6th brother was evading the hunter, too. The wizard stopped and turned back to look at me. Huh. He smiled like he was hiding something. His amber eyes reflected the abyss within. Mr. Wizard, why do you love her? Another question about her? Yep, another question. Call me annoying if you like, but it's bugging me. I want to know more about this woman who captivated an oddball like you. So explain yourself. Tell me why you love her so much. He must have sensed the determination in my eyes, because he let out a breath and his defiant smirk softened. She gave me a role. She was the only one who needed me. I gave him us, gave him a role. She was the only one who needed him. You know what I mean? He didn't have a role or an existence or a reason. Because he's the 6th brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay. I was going to disappear. And then she saved me. And that's all there is to it. I don't care if she was just manipulating me to make use of my skills. Or if she had some other objective. If she achieves her end and finds she doesn't need me anymore, then so be it. I don't care if she kills me. I would die for her. That's the love I have for her. Love is blind, I suppose. I envy the way she managed to get you to commit your whole life to her. The Japanese word chusei, loyal, came to mind. He had pledged his love to her, and now he was completely dedicated to her cause. Do you miss her? Yes. Of course I miss her. But I can't be with her. Why not? She's not dead, is she? There's a wedge between us. What sort of wedge? One of my romantic rivals. One of. At first, he sounded like he was joking, but I could hear hostility behind those words. Then his expression shifted. More importantly, tomorrow's the big day. Just like that, he went back to normal. Right. If I don't choose my future husband by tomorrow, I'm going to die. I would assume the next part would be the end then. Are you prepared? Silently, I started walking again. I'll take that as a no. What about you? Have you figured out who the culprit is? It's him. Not a clue, I'm afraid. As I passed him, I reached into his pocket and pulled out the blackmail letter. I wonder what he was feeling when he wrote this to me. Probably, hurry up and pick someone, right? You're the one that did it, didn't you, wizard? If so, then maybe he never stood to gain anything from this blackmail at all. I'd figured whoever sent this letter must clearly want something, but he didn't want anything at all. He only did it because his beloved commanded him to. Sounds like a sheep. Maybe that's his most defining trait. I looked up at him. Was he really even looking at me? How do you think he'll feel if he has to kill me? Hard to say, really. How would you feel if it was you? Hypothetically speaking, of course. Like, I feel like she knows what she's doing right now. He paused for a moment. Pity. Or something like that, I figure. Not that I want to put myself in the shoes of a criminal. That's a relief. Is it? Yeah. You see, I'm planning to find my answer by tomorrow night. Right. You still have time. Just think it over. I will. The end. Alright. So, we have one more choice to make, and then we get our happy ending, so we might get the ending in the next part, or it might... Actually, you know what happens? We usually get our choice, and then we have, like, 7 hours of backstory, because, like... And I feel like this one needs it, because, like, Snow White was, like, all of his conversations with Ryoshi, but I feel like we really need it in this one, because, like, fuck. So we might have 2 more parts, because, like, I'm gonna need a lot of backstory to figure out what the fuck is happening here, so... I would estimate maybe 2 more parts left before we get to our bad endings. But anyway, we'll find out and we'll do the next part next time. So I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.